everyone, welcome back to PrepTalk podcast. I'm your host Vartika Bhandari and this is episode number 4 of season 2 all about ACT exams. This episode focuses on the reading section of the ACT, and to further address your questions we have with us yet again ACT expert at Tutela, Sudeshna Dey. Hey Sudeshna, how's it going?
Hi Vartika, it's all good. How about you?
I'm doing good too. So are you excited for the podcast?
Absolutely.
And we feel excited coming back for the second time this season.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm very excited to talk about the reading section.
Okay, so let's begin with the first question. What is ACT reading section all about and how is it scored?
So the reading section is a 35-minute long test. We will see 40 questions here. And there will be 4 passages that we need to work on. 4 passages can vary from a very long passage to shorter paired passages. And these passages are from 4 different sections, or rather types. We have the first passage is the prose passage. Then we have social science, we have humanities, and then comes natural science. So this is the order of the passages of the reading section. Now about the scoring, it's scored out of 40 as in the raw score, and then we have the scale score, which is out of 36.
Alright, so what is the primary focus of this section?
The primary focus of this section is basically to read and comprehend and use the support from the text to answer the questions. Now, most of the questions in this section is based on direct details from the text. So, of course, one has to remember that the test is a strictly timed test. Right. 35 minutes for 40 questions is actually something that you have to cope with, right? So, your reading strategies and the way you handle the text and use key ideas from the questions to look for the answers would probably be something that you need to work on here.
So the reading section, all in all, just not test the reading of the student who's taking the test, but also the interpretation skills, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. So how is the ACT reading section different from SAT reading section?
So the ACT reading section is different from the SAT reading section, primarily in time, because SAT reading section gives us 65 minutes to work on the section, but ACT reading section is exactly the half, 35 minutes. Also, there are certain types of questions which are different in the reading section. ACT reading section is more detail based. We do not get any data related questions here or data inference questions in the reading section, versus SAT reading section does give us such questions. And we get more evidence-based, line reference-based questions versus the ACT reading section. So, yeah, that's primarily the main difference.
Also, the time difference makes a big deal. Like
Yes, absolutely.
SAT is lenient with the timings, but ACT is very
lenient. But the difference comes in the question types again. So, nobody can really say that SAT reading is easy or ACT reading is easy, because, both have its own challenges.
So moving on to our next question. Students' main issue while attempting this section is completing it on time, right?
Yeah.
And with the right answer. What is the correct approach and how should a student deal with the time management of the section?
One way to deal with the time management issue is to practice a lot. The more you practice, the better you get at handling time and managing the questions faster. Also, while practicing, it should strictly be timed too. So every practice test that you take for the reading section, you need to time yourself. You can't just practice it and think, okay, I'll do it, but I'll manage the time later, but it doesn't really work that way. So time tests and practicing enough is important. And while reading, there are a few reading strategies that kids need to follow. For example, noticing the key terms or mapping the passages well, which will help them to target the questions one after one without coming and back to the passage again and again. That is one way, yes.
Right. So moving on to our next question. How many sectional tests do you recommend students to take to improve their reading?
I would recommend at least 5 initially after completion of the course and understanding of how to handle the reading section. Most of these tests need to be taken on screen, on computer, because ACT is a computer-based test after all. And according to me, 5 tests should give them the hang of the test.
Taking just the sectionals would not help students, right, to gain the rhythm of taking up this section, right? There has to be some resources or some external material that they go forward for and gain, more insights about handling this section properly. So what materials and sources do you suggest?
Honestly, Erica Mells is something that I would recommend in order to understand how to handle each question type, how to work on the passages. But there are a lot of official ACT tests available online. These are the materials that will actually help the students master the section, because reading section has less strategies and concepts to be learned versus application and actually solving the papers, right? That is the activity that will help the students get through the section well.
So moving on to our last question for this podcast, what are some tricks that you would recommend our students to improve their reading skills?
Yes. First, even when I start the reading classes, I tell my students to pick up anything that they come across and read. Right? Reading is very important on a regular basis because it will help a student to increase their reading speed as well as increase their comprehension levels. I would strongly recommend the reading resources which are available on our website. We have articles of different genres backed by the New York Times here. And, these articles will help the students to develop their thinking skills as well as their reading skills and reading speed in turn. And again, while reading, they should get into this habit of picking out key ideas from each paragraph, trying to link up these ideas to understand what is happening in a passage as a whole.
Cool. So this episode was certainly short and simple, and I hope we addressed most of your concerns regarding the ACT reading section. Thank you so much, Sudeshna, for being here.
My pleasure, Vartika.
Alright, so to all the listeners, we hope today's episode was helpful for you guys. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned for the next episode. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.